When Don Henley finally broke his silence about Randy Meisner, no one expected his words to hit this hard, or reveal this much. When news broke that Randy Meisner, the quiet genius behind some of the Eagles' most iconic harmonies, had died, the rock world froze. For decades, his voice had soared through anthems like "Take It Easy" and "Take It to the Limit," but his own story had faded into near silence. Fans mourned a legend, but what they didn't expect was that silence to be shattered by Don Henley himself. At first, Henley said nothing. No post, no interview, just silence. A silence that stretched long enough to make everyone wonder if there was more behind it. And then suddenly he spoke. His tribute was beautiful, sure, but it was too careful, too measured. The kind of statement that left people asking, was this grief or guilt? Because what Henley said next didn't just honor a fallen friend, it peeled back decades of tension, of quiet resentment and unspoken regret that had haunted the Eagles since their glory days. To most fans, Randy Meisner was the shy bassist who slipped away from the spotlight. But inside the band, his story was anything but quiet. From Nebraska's dusty farmlands to the neon glow of Los Angeles, he built his dream from nothing, only to find himself trapped inside it. And now, with his passing, Henley's confession was about to reignite everything the band had tried to bury. He didn't just remember Randy, he revealed him. Before the chaos, before the fame, Randy Meisner was just a farm kid from Scottsbluff, Nebraska, a place so quiet you could hear the wind hum through the fields. He grew up surrounded by hard work and silence, the kind of silence that teaches patience and pain. But in that stillness, something was building, a sound, a longing, a voice that would one day define an era. When he left home, he didn't carry much, just a bass, a dream, and a stubborn belief that music could take him somewhere the farm never could. Los Angeles in the 60s was brutal, buzzing, alive with competition. He wasn't the loudest or the flashiest, but when he played, people noticed. That voice, raw, angelic, heartbreak stitched into melody, made him impossible to ignore. He jumped from band to band, chasing the sound that fit his soul. The turning point came when he joined Poco, one of the first to blend rock with country twang. But just as the band was about to break out, he walked away. Conflict, ego, control, the same forces that would later haunt him inside the Eagles. Then came Linda Ronstadt's call, a single tour that would change everything. She needed a band. Randy joined. Alongside him were Glenn Frey, Bernie Leadon, and Don Henley. Their chemistry was instant, electric, and before long, they weren't backing anyone anymore. They were the Eagles. From the outside, it looked perfect. 4 young men unstoppable, reinventing American rock. But even in the beginning, something felt off. Henley and Frey were the architects, the visionaries. Randy? He was the heart, the emotional pulse that made their harmonies ache. And yet that same vulnerability that made him brilliant also made him breakable. Behind the scenes, control was shifting. Decisions weren't shared, they were handed down. Henley and Frey became the faces, Randy became the background. And every time he hit those impossible notes, every time he poured his soul into a song, he was reminded that his voice belonged to a band that didn't always hear him. The cracks were forming, quiet, invisible, but deep. And soon, the same voice that lifted the Eagles to the heavens would be the one silenced first. By 1977, the Eagles were unstoppable. Hotel California ruled the airwaves, their tour sold out every night, and fame had become their shadow. But for Randy Meisner, the dream had turned into a prison. Exhaustion hit him harder than applause ever could. His voice, once the band's emotional high, was barely holding on. Yet every night, Glenn Frey insisted he sing "Take It to the Limit," the song that demanded everything from him. One night in Knoxville, it all snapped. Meisner told him he couldn't do it. His voice was gone, his body breaking. Frey exploded. Backstage, words turned to shoves, and years of tension boiled over. Henley watched, but didn't intervene. For Randy, it was more than just a fight. It was the confirmation that he didn't belong anymore. Soon after, he walked away. Officially, it was to spend time with family, but insiders knew better. He'd been pushed out, discarded by a machine that valued perfection over peace. The Eagles soared higher without him, but something in their sound changed. The heart, the fragility, the humanity Randy brought, it was gone. Behind the glittering success was a man quietly breaking. And while the world moved on, Randy Meisner disappeared into the kind of silence no music could fill. After walking away from the Eagles, Randy Meisner tried to rebuild, but fame has a way of leaving scars that never fully heal. He released a solo album, poured what was left of his soul into it, and waited for the world to care. It didn't. To most people, he was still the guy who used to sing for the Eagles, not the man who helped create their sound. The spotlight dimmed, and the silence grew louder. By the 1990s, while his former bandmates packed arenas and cashed reunion checks, Randy faded further into obscurity. He struggled with depression, alcohol, and the unbearable weight of being forgotten. When the Eagles reunited for Hell Freezes Over, he wasn't invited. Officially, it was due to health concerns. Unofficially, it was easier to leave him out. Then came tragedy. His wife, Lana, the one person still standing beside him, was gone. A freak gun accident police called unintentional, but left Randy shattered. Friends said he never recovered. He stopped showing up in public. The man who once filled arenas couldn't face the mirror. And when Randy Meisner died in 2023, there were no flashing lights, no farewell tour. Just a quiet ending to a life that once echoed through millions of speakers. But the silence he left behind was louder than any note he ever sang. For days after Randy Meisner's passing, Don Henley said nothing. Fans waited, remembering their history, the highs, the fights, the silence. And then, almost out of nowhere, Henley spoke. His statement was calm, respectful, and hauntingly restrained. He called Meisner an integral part of the Eagles, praised his rare vocal range, and honored him as the voice behind Take It to the Limit. Beautiful words, but there was something unsaid in between the lines. Later, in an interview, Henley shared a memory. One night, Randy told him he wished he'd never joined the Eagles, that fame had stolen his joy, that he would rather be back in Nebraska, building things with his hands, than trapped under the weight of success. Henley didn't comment further. He didn't have to. His tone carried what words couldn't. Regret. He never mentioned the fights, the pressure, the way Randy was pushed aside. But in the quiet of his voice, you could feel the truth, that he knew how much the band had taken from the man who helped build it. For years, Randy Meisner's story was told in whispers. But now, with his passing, the silence finally speaks. Not as a scandal, not as revenge, but as a reminder that even in the loudest bands, some of the most important voices are the ones we barely heard.